because the recording button was on. There we go.
Okay, wonderful. We're now recording our webinar, Fostering Congregational Giving. Elizabeth and Terry, take it away, and thank you.
Oh, thank you. I am like so happy to be here and to see some familiar faces from my travels to Indianapolis and when I was in Cincinnati for Reverend Connie Simon's installation. So I see some folks that I met there and Jamie from Indianapolis. So that's lovely. And Sharon, it's always a delight to be with you. So many thanks for you and your work and Andrew to make this happen. I love meeting with congregations, and I wanted to thank all of the congregations on the call for their faithful giving to the annual program fund. When congregations join the association, they say that they will support other congregations in many ways. Financially is just one of them. So many thanks to all of you who are part of helping other congregations and the association thrive through your generous giving to the annual program fund. Wow, there's so many people on the call. I'm so excited. Have a little call in response to help us get started, and Sharon will advance the slides. Those of you who were here earlier heard that Zoom is kind of wacky today, and so I'm on my phone, and there was a request for a hat, so I went and put one on. The call and response is This Sacred Place, that comes from Stephen Schick's book that was published by our Skinner House called Be the Change. And it's real easy. Your part is, and I'm going to invite you to like type it or sign it or say it. Your part is, this place has been waiting for us. And so when I pause each time, and I think there's 8 times, you will say, this place has been waiting for us. Can we try that? This place has been waiting for us. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. To gather our dreams of justice and peace. This place has been waiting for us. To honor it by opening our hearts and speaking our minds.
This place has been waiting for us.
To fill it with compassion and loving kindness.
This place has been waiting for us.
To draw from it a breath of common purpose.
This place has been waiting for us.
To listen to the wisdom of its silence.
This place has been waiting for us.
To fill it with the urgency of new possibilities.
This place has been waiting for us.
And finally, to make it sacred by our coming together.
This place has been waiting for us.
All righty. So like you're kind of getting the drift of how I want us to work together. It's not just me talking. It's like joining together, the sacredness of us coming together. And that reading is from the book, Be the Change. Hopefully, we can all be the change in our congregations. The job that I had before I started working at the UUA was with this national organization called Partners for Sacred Places. And Partners' mission was to help congregations that were in huge historic buildings, and they were wanting to do a capital campaign, but they maybe had like 30 people sitting there on a Sunday morning. So they needed to make community partners in order to like really be able to be successful in their capital campaigns. My job was running the capital campaign training program, and I traveled all over the country, kind of like I do now, and I was able to meet congregations of all faiths, including a lot of Unitarian Universalist congregations. And it was like joyous and puzzling. Most faith traditions had statements that they would say about generosity and abundance and stewardship and congregational life. Unitarian Universalists, not so much. So it became my passion to help us as Unitarian Universalists be like real fluent in the language of abundance and generosity and stewardship so that we can move into the bright future that is there for us and the world. Like I live right now in Wilmington, North Carolina, so occasionally I might ask for an amen. That was an amen statement. You know, like we can move into the bright future. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right. Thank you. So part of what I have to share with you is about like looking within individually and as a congregation to find our gifts, the beauty, our connections, our passions, so that we can move forward. Can I get an amen? Okay.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
All right, Sharon, I think we're ready to get going with those slides. There any questions right now? Everybody like on board? Okay. So it's like fostering congregational stewardship. What I'm meaning by that is that we can grow it. We can make it vibrant. We can thrive. It may not be there right now. You may be doing fundraising, but stewardship, woo, that's like a different thing. It's about thinking about the future, grounded in the present, drawing from the past so that we can be all that we can be. Next slide, please. So here we are gathering, and we did hear from some of you, but I saw that quite a number of people joined the call after we had had a quick go around of who was on the call. So like I'm going to like ask you if you're willing and able to say your name, the name and location of your congregation, and one thing that you love about your congregation. That's just 3 sentences, okay? I know that you could like wax poetic and go on for quite a while about how much you love your congregation. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Okay, but I'm asking you to say your name, the name and location of your congregation, and one thing you love about your congregation, your organization, your community. Who's going to go first?
Me, Chris Long.
Okay. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I am good. My name is Reverend Chris Long. I am the Justice Minister at West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church in Rocky River, Ohio, and the authentic community that's oozing out of the place. Thank you.
Woo.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm Susan Comstock.
Okay.
I can go. Susan Comstock. I'm the treasurer of the Unitarian Church of Evanston in Evanston, Illinois. And one thing I love about my congregation is its commitment to social justice.
You want to call on someone, Susan?
How do I call on somebody?
Do you see their...
No, I'm not seeing who else is on there.
Like.
I'll just go.
Okay.
My name is Trina Precy, and I'm a lifetime member of Elliott Chapel in St. Louis, Missouri. I roll with the congregation. I'm currently serving on the board, and I sing in the choir. And one thing that I love about our congregation is that we started doing vigils right when Michael Brown was shot, and we are continuing to hold weekly vigils for social justice and Black Lives Matter up until this day. We're on 216 or 17 vigil number, something like that, maybe a little bit more. So.
Thank you. Amen. Somebody else?
I'll go. I'm Charlene Montgomery. I'm from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. I am the present vice president of our board of trustees and serve on the personnel committee as well as stewardship now. And one thing that I love about my congregation is the covenant groups that we share in.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Jump in.
I can.
Mhm.
Okay.
This is Reed Hester. I don't have my video on because I'm calling in from the exercise bike. Member of Heritage UU in Cincinnati, Ohio, stewardship chair. And one thing I love about our congregation is how giving we are. I think we're in about year 2 of giving away 100% of our plate on Sundays. And that goes to local, national, global organizations as our social justice committee chooses that. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Terry Lohman. I'm from Ames, Iowa, and I belong to the Des Moines Church. What I love about UUs is our push to keep learning and keep pushing our boundaries, because we weren't born with all these values quite so clearly defined.
Amen. Thank you. Who's next?
I'll go. My name's Therese Presley. I'm from Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Duluth, Minnesota. And one thing I love about our congregation, we have a dynamite RE leader for the last 2 years, Katie Klein, and she's growing our congregation by getting young families in with kids.
Amen. Amen for RE. Who's next, please?
All right. I am the Reverend Laura Campbell, and I'm here with Joanne O'Hara and Dan McDonald from the Board of Directors. And we are in Kennebunk, Maine at First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church of Kennebunk. And one of the things that we love about our congregation is the warmth of community. Just really great folks here.
You also have the fire of commitment. That's like right out of the song.
You have to in Maine because it's really cold. So, yeah, we got a lot of fire here.
Thank you. Amen. And who's next?
I'll go.
Okay. Whoever's talking, I'm having a hard time hearing them.
Nelson NR, you're unmuted. I'm just thinking maybe the microphone on your computer might be covered with something or something.
I'll speak up. Can you hear me?
No.
All right. Do you want Tree of Life to go?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I have a whole big group here from our very vibrant stewardship team. We're called the Dream Team here. And I think what we like best about our congregation is that we roll with the punches around here. We've been through lots of big changes, lots of ministerial turnover lately. We've been through, oh my God, we're broke, and now we're doing pretty good. We've managed to do it as a happy little group. So that's what we love about this congregation.
Amen. Amen. Woo! Hallelujah. Someone else, please.
We can go next.
Okay.
I'm Jen Day, and my husband Stephen Day is here with me. We're from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Elgin, just down the road from Tree of Life, and we're co-chairs of the stewardship team. One thing I love about our congregation is our connection to nature and the environment.
Amen. Have we finished, Sharon? Where are we? I think so. Well, there are a few that we haven't heard from. So anyone who wants to continue with this love fest, speak now or forever hold your peace.
You can also type your comments. I'd say that in the chat
Yes,
box if you're
ma'am.
having trouble being heard.
Yeah.
I'm Jamie Hinson-Rieger, Director of Ministry with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis in Indianapolis. And one thing that I love about my congregation is that we are now 100% solar powered.
Woohoo! Amen.
Very nice. My name's Todd Grunig. I'm with Thomas Jefferson Unitarian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. And one of the things that I love is being able to look around and see all kinds of people that are willing and committed to pull together and tackle some pretty amazing things.
Fabulous. Amen. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in?
I'll just add online, we have Joetta from St. John's, we have Regina from Portage, and Eric from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Portage is in Michigan, St. John's is in Ohio, and Valerie from Southold, Michigan, I believe. Welcome all.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. Welcome all. So, we could end right now. The best thing you need to know about stewardship and community building is listening, and you're all great listeners. Thanks so much for the people who shared. It's really, stewardship is about getting people to talk about what they love. Not what's wrong, what they don't like, but what they love, which is why I like to start with that question. So thank you all for participating and indulging me in that. Sharon, can we have the next slide? I don't know how many of you had the pleasure of meeting Bart Frost. He's the UUA's Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministries. He works out of the Boston office, and he is from North Carolina, I must say. And he talks really strongly about the communities that we form as congregations. For those of you who may be on the phone or on a treadmill, I'll read it out for you. One of the best things about church is that it is an intentional community where you can live your values. In a world where almost everything is based on a transactional fee-for-service system, church is one place where things operate differently. That's from Bart Frost, the UUA Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministries. So I wanted to include that because we need to think about the fact that people have chosen to be part of our congregation, to be part of our religious community when they could choose to be somewhere else. The folks in Elgin, they could choose to be in another UU congregation, or people could be in any faith denomination, but our values, our shared values as Unitarian Universalists sort of make it possible and almost mandate that people are with us. But it's voluntary. Voluntary. Next slide, please. And there's a hyperlink to answer the question, what do you mean by a voluntary organization? A little YouTube video that will be coming up soon, I hope. There it is. It's thinking about it. Here we go. Okay, thoughts about that? Oh no, we don't want to see Emily Blunt. So I think you have to escape to go back. Oh no, Sharon, we're making sausage. Okay. You can type in the chat box.
Give me just a minute, I'll fix this.
That's okay. Voluntary associations. So that's a definition. You may agree or not agree, but one thing that's clear is that no one is forced to join our congregations or to attend our Sunday services or our programs and other services that happen. So it's a voluntary organization. People choose to be there based on the values that we say we hold as Unitarian Universalists. So the next slide is going to ask a question of you. To what other voluntary communities do you belong? Please type in the chat box, or Sharon, maybe you could call on a few people that can be unmuted, because I can't see that. Sorry.
All right, anyone want to pipe up or just in the chat box?
Okay.
I've got my professional organization, a men's group, a women's group, a book club, a cooperative farm, Faith in Indiana, an interfaith social justice group, work, music school, Democratic Party Scouts, Duluth Flower Garden Society, love, Ministers Association, a number of nonprofits, Al-Anon, Interfaith Justice Group. Those are some things in the chat box.
Thank you so much. And I belong to, and belong is like a strong word. Things that I support are Soul Fire Farm, which is a farm that's in upstate New York. I'm a member of the NAACP. I'm a member of my congregation. And there are other places where I have supported over the years. Yeah, our local NPR station, the public TV station in North Carolina, Louisville Asset Building Coalition, Black Lives Matter Cleveland, Food Co-op, voluntary associations. And I would venture a guess that these organizations to which you belong or that you support reflect your UU values, which is really important to there. Thank you for all of those comments in the chat box. So we haven't sorted out how to have breakout rooms, so I'll just tell a little story. Story time. Key to community is what is the story at the basis of our tapestry of faith religious education is narrative, and what is the story. One of the changes that I've seen happening with congregations, our congregations, is cooperation between congregations, whereas I think like 20 years ago when I first became a Unitarian Universalist, congregations felt like they were in competition. I'm not saying that has totally left the planet, but I see congregations cooperating, working together for Unitarian Universalism. So I think that it would be like really exciting to hear, again, someone can like raise their hand and Sharon can unmute you about ways that you are experiencing in your congregation cooperation with another UU congregation or an interfaith group or a community organization, and how that fits with your UU values. So the question that I'm asking you for story time is, what kind of collaborations and cooperations are you involved in your congregation with another congregation, UU or other, a community-based organization, or it could be a governmental agency. So since I can't see everybody, you can raise your hand if you want to share something. or I could call on you.
And you also have the power to unmute yourself up in the top right corner.
Okay, that's good.
This is Therese in Duluth, and we partner with Peace United Church of Christ for our Teenage Owl program.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
In Iowa, we have a state action network, and it is helping to bring people closer and figuring out where we might be able to help one another.
Thank you. And there's some wonderful things in the chat box too about the League of Women Voters and being a sanctuary church. Thank you so much for that. Sharon, next slide, please. So here, for me, is the crux of what we're going to talk about. Scarcity and abundance. I think that most nonprofit organizations and most congregations focus on what or who is not there. Like, oh, only if we had more rich people, or only if we had young families, or only if we had more people of color, we would be fabulous. Question that I want to ask is, what if we focused on what we do have? Are you with me? What if we focus on what is already here and in abundance? Okay, so we could say that, well, we only have people over the age of 65 in our congregation. There's nobody under the age of 35 in our congregation. So if we have, the demographics are showing that we have mostly people over the age of 65, what do folks over the age of 65 have in abundance? Unmute yourself and say something, put it in the chat box. One obvious thing is that they have a lifetime of experience. Yes, they have time. They have time. We're in agreement on that. What else might they have? Wisdom. Thank you, Eric. Some have money. Yes, some. And other resources. Thank you, Charlene. Money and contacts. They might have institutional memory, longtime friend networks, and abundance. Gray hair. Time to volunteer from Judy. Thank you. Knowledge of the history. Perhaps that is of the congregation or the denomination. I couldn't see the rest of that. So, like, some of our congregations, membership in more voluntary organizations than those that might not have much time. Okay. It would also have history with a certain issue or certain movement. And yes, connections. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And you continue to think about that. So scarcity versus abundance. Some of your congregations might have already been involved in asset-based community development, the practice of spiritual abundance that I learned while working at Partners for Sacred Places. Some of your congregations might have used the spiritual practice of appreciative inquiry, which believes that what you focus on becomes bigger, becomes greater, becomes more. So if we're focusing on scarcity, wow, what do you think happens? we think that everything's scarce. If we're focusing on abundance or believing in abundance, the possibility for there to be enough is there, because we're looking through that lens when we're looking at our issues, problems, and the situations that we're trying to solve. Next slide, please. So these are some of the characteristics of scarcity. And you can look over these. I'll read them out for folks on the phone, and you can type in the chat box other characteristics of scarcity. Fear, doubt, selfishness, resentment, resisting change, isolation, competition. Oh, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. What about us? If we look out into the community and try to help them, there's only enough for us. Well, we've always done it this way. We can't change now. And we're so special. It's okay that we stay here alone on our little UU island in the middle of the woods, surrounded by lovely trees. Yes, these are powerful things that work against us. And most voluntary organizations, including congregations, can get stuck in a cycle around scarcity. Other comments around scarcity? Next slide, please. Abundance. Characteristics of abundance. Love, faith, integrity, compassion, growth, collaboration, creativity. A comment in the chat box that these seem easier. I would say that these also resonate with our UU values. Love, faith, integrity, compassion, growth, collaboration, creativity. What are some other aspects of abundance that you could think of for the chat box or unmuting yourself to say something? Trust, hope. Thank you, Laura and Eric. Joy, care, equity. Woo! Joy, generosity. Yes! Liveliness. Thank you, Chris and Rita. So what if we were focusing on love, faith, integrity, compassion, growth, collaboration, and creativity, excitement? Thank you, Charlene. What if we were focusing on that? Wow! Our congregations would be so amazing. Can I get an amen? Love, faith, integrity, compassion, growth, collaboration, creativity. Whew. Solutions to problems can be found in those 7 words in the perhaps 20 that we typed into the chat box. Faith, joy, love, liveliness, hope. Wow. Next slide, please. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but this is an opportunity for you, particularly the folks that are together as a group, to think about where is your congregation and how could you open your hearts to be able to shift from scarcity thinking to abundant thinking. So let's look at this cycle. And these are some of the words that we saw on those 2 previous slides. So scarcity, we have fear. And then from fear, we're having anxiety about the numbers, whether it's numbers in the church for services or numbers in the budget. And then from that, we continue to be in a negative place by making poor choices. Fear, anxiety, poor choices. Is it a big surprise that then we have negative outcomes in that scarcity loop? But what if we started off with gratitude, and it's like all take a breath together and breathe out. Another breath. Breathe in peace and breathe out love. Gratitude, which helps us have peace of mind so we can make some wise choices and have positive outcomes. Gratitude, peace of mind, wise choices, positive outcomes. The abundance loop. So a question from Charlene. Whoops, that went away. Charlene, could you unmute yourself and tell us what that was? I can't see it right now.
Yes, I was asking, do the circles have to first start to overlap before they can totally move to the abundance loop, before we can totally be in abundance?
Right.
I see that a congregation would have to have a little of both to indicate that you're moving toward abundance.
Right. So it's like challenging for fear and gratitude to live together, but I think that they do in our minds, in our hearts, and in our congregations. But what if we were focusing on moving to that green abundance loop by trying to have more gratitude than fear, have more peace of mind than anxiety, make better choices, and have more positive outcomes. I guess that's sort of like when you ask that, Charlene, I'm thinking of some sort of like little Venn diagram, and I guess in the middle is like happy, happy, happy. But like in reality, yes, both of those exist. So are we like paying most attention to the people who are in the fear place and are saying things like, oh, well, we tried that before. Oh, well, that'll never work. Well, no other congregation would want to be with us. Well, that organization won't want to collaborate with us. We've always done it this way. To like folks who are saying, well, let's like think about maybe doing it a different way. How can we, or asking, how can we have gratitude for what is already here? Who's already here? Good question. Other questions about scarcity and abundance? It's about making the paradigm shift. Having faith and hope and joy that we talked about to like say, this can be better. This can be better. Questions, comments? We'll have time at the end for celebrations, questions, comments, but let's look at the next slide right now. Believing. Eric was saying, how do you shift? It's about believing that you can be fabulous. It's like about how we make shifts in our own personal lives. You know, how do we like make shifts in our own personal life about being in gratitude instead of fear, having peace of mind instead of anxiety. We're not going to be able to have the breakout groups. I guess we should go on to the next slide. Sharon. So I would love to hear from someone a story about how you in your congregation have made some sort of shift. Not about like who was saying no, don't do it, but who were the people who were saying, well, let's like try this new thing. Let's try something new. Where did that happen? Where's that congregation that we can lift up and celebrate and learn from? And I did notice that there was a congregation from Maine. Hi, Laura. We're not all from the Midwest or me from the South. So that's kind of fun. So what's that story?
Okay.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, since you called me out, thank you very much. So last year, our Social Justice Committee took a major leap and brought in Shea Stewart Boulay for our Martin Luther King breakfast, she has a blog called Black Girl in Maine. And we had never moved our MLK breakfast up to the sanctuary for the program. And Shea costs a lot more money than we had ever spent on a speaker. But we did it, sold out breakfast right away, like before Christmas, I think we sold out breakfast.
Wow.
And almost filled the sanctuary for the presentation, which was probably 250 people. And I think we still, after it was all said and done, I think there was still about $22,000 left over after. So that was our big adventure.
Wow. Woo! Amen. That is a good story. So there were people who said, let's do something different. That you like reached outside of your congregation. You weren't stuck in isolation. If there was fear, you did it anyway. And this is a lovely story. I love it. Thank you. Somebody else? Don't make me call on you.
Can you hear me? This is Therese in Duluth.
Yes.
Our RE director and our minister decided to take a more family ministry tact. So in the history of our church, the children were always sung out after the children time. And now, as of last September, we're keeping the children in the sanctuary. They color quietly at a table. They're right there. Their parents are there with them, sort of sitting around that area. And I mentioned before, it's growing our congregation. People feel like our church is more family friendly. There were elders that did not want this to happen, and now they're seeing the benefit of it, and they're actually enjoying service again.
Wow. Thank you so much, Laura and Therese. One more?
I have a quick story. Our congregation 2, maybe 3 years ago decided to join what's called Voice Buffalo, and it got our church involved in a lot of peace and justice issues like education of immigrant children, providing their language in the schools, things like helping those who were imprisoned when they're released from prison, just a number of peace and justice issues. When we first talked about joining it, there was a lot of resistance because, how much was it going to cost our congregation? Can't we get involved in these things on our own? And by joining other denominations and other congregations, it has opened up our whole perspective on peace and justice issues in the city of Buffalo.
Ooh, thank you, and amen. So this is just wonderful to hear these stories, and sort of like a part of each one of them was that you were shifting from thinking, the negative thinking to the positive thinking, from the fear to the gratitude, from the isolation to the community mindedness. That is how you foster stewardship in your congregation. And I also love part of the story from Duluth was that congregation's growing. Heard from Maine that there was money left over. What? My goodness. And so like you're more connected in Buffalo. Like, wow. Love it, love it, love it. Sharon, can we have the next slide, please? So I've mentioned appreciative inquiry. What you focus on gets bigger. Asset-based community development, or ABCD, which is what are the assets that you have in your community, in your congregation, that can be used together to help you move into the bright future. Not about like who's not here, but who is here. Who is here? What are their experiences? What are their talents? What are their interests and passions? One of the stories that I can tell you about this from my home congregation in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was that I did this asset-based community development exercise that I'm going to show you about in a minute with my congregation. And it was during an event that was already happening, which was everybody's birthday. So in the fellowship hall, there were 12 tables, one for each month. And my birthday's in December. I was sitting with the December folks. And we got to talk about what were we really excited about? What did we love about our congregation? What were the skills and experiences that we had as individuals that we'd like to contribute to the congregation, but nobody had ever asked us? Out of that came a range of things. There was one woman who said, I would love to be a volunteer religious educator, but no one ever asked me to do that. There was like a 10-year-old girl who said, I'm a really good artist and I like to make greeting cards. We were so excited by that the stewardship committee that year used the design from this child as the logo for the stewardship committee that year. So there were all kinds of skills and talents that were unearthed by doing the asset-based community development exercise that we weren't aware of, and people were too shy to say, I do that fabulous. The 10-year-old girl didn't have a problem with that. Next slide, please. The book that I learned this from, and the man that I learned this from, one of them was Luther Snow. His book is The Power of Asset Mapping. How your congregation can act on its skills. And any organization can learn how to do this asset mapping exercise in a space of like 10 minutes and be able to use what you learn, not to like people your committees, but use what you learn to have the work of the congregation happen by people who are volunteering their passion. Not like, oh, we got to have somebody for the stewardship committee. Let's twist some arms to get somebody on the board. But like, who are those people who love numbers and would be so happy to be on the finance team? Woo! Next slide, please. So you'll have these slides, so I don't want to like read all this to you, but it's like there's some major benefits of asset mapping. Some of them I've just talked about being able to like have people in the congregation offer what they want to offer, their gifts, their assets, their strengths, their skills, things that might otherwise be overlooked. And the bottom line of asset mapping, asset-based community development, is community building. The community of your congregation, building it through collaborative action, people working together with common goals that have been identified to be able to achieve those goals together. Not like the 5 people who are on the board or the 10 people who are on the board, not the minister, not just the RE committee, but all of us. And yes, involve your children in this. Involve people who don't regularly come to church. Involve, if you're bold enough, community members who aren't members or friends of your congregation. But use your building a lot. Like in my congregation here in Wilmington, one of the groups that uses our building is a 12-step group. And in our fellowship hall, the carpeting's looking kind of ragged right now. You know what I mean? From not just our coffee hour, but spilled coffee from the AA meetings. So the AA group has offered to have the carpet cleaned. Like, wow. So it's like their building as well, even though they're not members of the congregation. Next slide, please. Next slide, Sharon. And the next one. So it's like, really what that was talking about, besides the collaboration, was breaking down that false binary thing about us and them. It's like all of us. You know, the theme of this coming General Assembly is like the power of we. All of us. How can we accomplish things together that we would not be able to accomplish alone? How about if we had as the task of the whole congregation the health of the congregation, and not just the minister or the staff or the board, but it's all of our work. We can be amazing. Next slide, please. So let's hear a story about in your congregation where you have worked together across team lines or committee lines, or where you've broken down the staff and the volunteer dichotomy to be able to do something really amazing and powerful. In the chat, or unmute yourself to tell us a story about collaborative work that was amazing, helped the congregation to achieve goals. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Well, the best example I can give of that is our community organizing. We're an IAF affiliate, and how this has brought us in community with a Black church and with other denominations that many of us escaped from. And by doing that, it really helped heal some of the wounds from our experience with those religions, because there are people who are really, really just as social minded as we are, and it's done a lot for me.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. It would be good if you're going to speak to tell your name, because everybody can't see everybody. Your name or your congregation's name. Terry from Iowa and Florida. Yes. Judy is trying to unmute. Is that correct? No.
I bet she's typing.
Oh, okay.
I was going to type. My group just was saying how we've had two fundraisers just in November and December this year. And, you know, we joke that it's always the same 8 people, but it so was not, you know, with the 2 fundraisers. People, both of the fundraisers involved the whole congregation, and really the whole congregation came alive for both of them. One was a service auction, and the other one was a cookie walk with a rummage sale and a craft fair attached to it. And we had people that are, you know, rather loosely associated with us step forward, say, oh, I'll make cookies, or I'll make a craft for you, or, you know,
I'll have a party.
Yeah, and adding the craft fair on was a whole new thing for us with our cookie walk, and we weren't sure how it would go, and it was a very big money maker for us. So, you know, it was just, you know, we tried something new, and it really worked, and they were fun, and it was fun.
You tried something new, it really worked, and it was fun. Like our congregation here in Wilmington, as part of the mission statement, is having fun. Not an afterthought, but it's there, of like having fun, you know, like for the Emma Goldman and all of us. Thank you so much. Anybody else typing or having something to say about you ventured out to have a collaboration and it was successful, help your congregation grow, it raised money, you had some fun, you got better known in the community, and were able to do some healing from religions of origin and an understanding of like, oh wow, Methodists and Baptists and Lutherans and Catholics and Quakers are also social minded. How about that? Can I get an amen for collaboration? Yes, thank you. Next slide. Pass the one that's up now. Thank you. So we have to consider this new paradigm, and like, how did it get to be 8:45 already? You will get these slides about considering the new paradigm and how things will be shifting around your purpose for doing what you're doing, how you're going to do it or your method, your accountability, that's spelled wrong on this, sorry about that, the significance of assets, what is going to be used as a resource, what is the operating challenge, what is the dynamic of the whole system moving from scarcity to abundance, believing in the assets that you have, and how are you going to evaluate it. So quickly, Sharon, we can like roll through these so that people will be able to ask their questions. And just look at the comparison and contrast here. So like if you're in a needs or deficit-based way of thinking, then you're going to be changing the community through increased services. Well, people just need more programs and services. But if you're based in asset, believing in abundance, you're changing the community through citizen involvement. More people involved, not just the usual suspects. Are you going to change the institution, or are you going to have your efforts based on community members, congregation members, otherwise citizen-centered production? Next one. Accountability. To whom are you accountable? Well, that would be the congregation as a whole. So how do you look at yourselves as leaders and widening that circle of volunteers and leaders that then will be accountable to the community, which is them? Next one, please. What are your assets? Is it money, the system, or is it the relationships that you discovered through your asset mapping? Is it the connections that were formed with community-based organizations or another team or committee within your congregation? Who are you? And you're going to do leadership development through having more and more people involved. Relationships are key. That is the main resource. People power, resources, relationships, connections. When you focus on just the money, the people become less important. If you focus on the people, the money will come. What? That lady's crazy down there in North Carolina. No, I'm not. If you focus on people, relationships, connections to achieve your goals, the money will come. Next slide. So there can be challenges. There can be challenges. Volunteers have to have some sort of structure for accountability, for leadership development, for involvement in the planning and the execution of the plan. But it's like building on what everybody knows, has experiences for, and wants to offer to the community. If you are basing your activity on, well, we got to do this, but we don't have enough people to do it, things get thinner and thinner and thinner. But if you're basing it on relationships, connections, community, and teamwork, things just get bigger. The phrase here is it snowballs. Next one, please. So an asset-based system, success is capacity measured mostly by relationships. Like a really healthy, thriving stewardship congregation is one in which people have multiple connections. Connections to people on other teams, connections to people across demographic boundaries, that's in quotes, the boundaries, but success is capacity measured mostly by relationships. That's how you evaluate it. Next slide. We're going to skip the story time. So, questions, aha moments that you had, celebrations that you still want to share with us in the 11 minutes we have left. You can unmute yourself to say something or type it in the chat box. My celebration is all of you. I'm like so excited that you're here, that you are invested in the health of your congregation and community, and you came to spend a couple of hours this evening together with me and with Sharon. Thank you so much. Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Amen. Amen. Woo-hoo-hoo. So, questions, aha moments, amens from Demi. Charlene saying amen. You know, you could even say hallelujah if you put a lot of U's in it.
Well, hallelujah. I think one of the
Hallelujah.
Elizabeth is a lot of our very well-intentioned members are very worried about money. Like maybe they started the canvas late, or the canvas last year didn't go well, or the chair quit. And so a lot of people come into this, actually even yearly, I see it happen, with scarcity and fear and that sense of feeling under-resourced. And so I don't think, you know, people are going to magically go from that to this. But
nope, it's not magic.
How it could move to make this more people hold the responsibility and a joy for it, instead of like a fear and loathing for it a bit. And the one thing it made me think about is the first time I ever heard about asset mapping was I ministered in a urban area that had a lot of poverty and violence. And one of the ministers brought asset mapping to the community. And it was the first time I heard people in this community talk about what gave them joy. And so this community was like, people were always like giving them their gun statistics. It was like so depressing, you know.
Yeah.
And when I sat in a meeting and heard them talk about what brings their community joy, I had an aha that like every community has a rich story. We just don't always uncover it. And these people had begun to feel blighted because their only coverage was about blight. But when you told the stories, it was like the neighborliness, the joy, the laughter. And I thought, well, that is an asset, and we've just never focused on it at all. It was a really great introduction to me of the power of this, even for people who are skeptical of it.
Yes. And, you know, like it really, I want to like go back to that call and response that we had at the beginning from the book, Be the Change. Each one on this call, including me and Sharon, can be the change. You know, be that person who shares with the congregation joy and faith and hope and liveliness and enthusiasm, and being convinced that we can try something different. We can try something different because what we're doing ain't working, you know, so let's like try something different, to stretch out of our comfort zone a bit and try something different based on what we're hearing from each other. So like I'm like excited that we're doing this regionally, and we had the people flying in from Maine, that we can continue to learn from each other. There are a lot more stories of success and celebration and trying things, and that doesn't mean that it's always going to work, but you try it and you learn from it anyway. They're here on this call. We can learn from each other and support each other and lift each other up. Yes, it's true. Questions, comments, celebrations?
I see a comment in the chat box from Katie. She says the last slides comparing needs and deficits versus asset-based is really revealing way to think about things for me, and someone else said that they found that helpful. Katie said, we're in the midst of seeking a new facility, so there is clearly a pull between scarcity and abundance related to trying to be a facility prudent for this significant financial event.
Yes, yes. I think the first slide has my contact information on it. And maybe put it on the last slide too. But please don't be a stranger. I don't want to see you at GA and I'm saying to you, you never write, you never call. I'm here as a resource for y'all. Yes. Anything else in the remaining 5 minutes we have?
You sound like my Jewish grandmother. You never write, you never
Thank you all. Thank you all for caring enough about your congregations to be here. That gives me lots of hope.
So
and you are also welcome. Thank you.
I see the thank yous pouring in to you. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. You're busy, you do many, many things, you go many places. Thank you for sharing yourself and your presence and your
my delight and pleasure.
And I do want to let everyone know that this webinar is truly put on by your APF gifts, or the region would not exist without them. So thank you so much. We do hope we see you again, and you will see these slides come up. Generally, in about 2 days, we send you out an evaluation, and with it comes the link for the webinar and the slides so that you can look at this all again in case you missed something that was really important. Someone said where it will be posted. It'll be posted on our website. And you know, our website has just moved. I think it's uua.org/midamerica. You know what? Let me look that up right now. Because we're transitioning our website. Ooh. I know, these things. It's thinking.
Eric's asked, whoops, it went away. Sharon, can you read Eric's question?
Yes. Eric said, I wonder if these concepts are translatable to, say, mission, vision, covenant. Well, that's a great question.
Yes. And short answer is yes. And I encourage you to look. The last slide, Sharon has like the resources on it, including another book by an asset-based community development trainer, the Reverend Mike Mather from Indianapolis, who I know Jamie has met. And the Asset-Based Community Development Institute's website is on the last slide. And they have a lot of resources downloadable online, including different asset mapping worksheets.
Thank you. And I just stuck the link in. We are now at www.uua.org/midamerica. If you put in the old link, it will redirect you here, so you'll find us. So thank you for everyone. Good evening. I hope you do fill out the evaluation when it comes. We rely on your feedback. Also, we have a series of financial stewardship webinars we've been doing. If you look at our archives, we've done a one-day canvas. We've done electronic giving in congregations. We had Christina Leon Tracy in the fall talking about some innovative things she did in her canvas last year at their congregation. They did a giveaway, and then they're doing a big raffle. Like, you have to find out how much money they're raising, like thousands of dollars on this raffle. So a whole bunch of things going on, and we value your feedback, and thanks so much.
Yes, and your feedback helps me do my job better. Thank you so, so much.
Good evening, everyone.
Good night, all.
Thank you. Good night.